All right, what's up, everybody? We're gonna give everybody a minute, like we did last night, to join in if they choose to. Then we're gonna jump right into the Week One action in the NFL. I'm just gonna go ahead and make sure we're posted. And then, like I said, we'll give everybody like a minute to hop in here if they choose to, and then we're gonna get right into this week's NFL action. Put that closer to me. All right, it's been enough time. Welcome into the Green Zone. It's been a minute since I hopped on and did a Green Zone. It was a very popular podcast when I did it a few years ago. Different career paths have taken me to have changed my schedule to where I wasn't able to do the Green Zone every week. But I'm back doing my own thing, and I'm very excited to get back behind the mic weekly and give you guys a quick, brief betting preview of the NFL each week. These episodes are going to be quick and no longer than 20 minutes. I would say 15, 20 minutes is where I like to keep it. No elaborate thoughts, just go through every game quickly and then get to the picks and then move on. And hopefully we have a profitable weekend. As always, if you want to subscribe to my picks that I give out weekly for college football and the NFL, you can do so on Dub Club. Just search Dub Club at Red Hot Locks. The links are all over my socials. You can find it somewhere on my Facebook page. It's in my bio on Instagram and my bio on Twitter at S Redden Sports on Twitter and at Red Hot Locks on Instagram. But that being said, let's jump right into this week's NFL action. Starting in Kansas City tonight, Thursday night football, the Ravens at the Chiefs. The Chiefs are a 3-point favorite with the over under at 46 and a half. And I've already bet it. I've laid it with the Chiefs -3 in this one. I'm just not crazy about this Ravens team overall, but I also think this is a really bad matchup for them. Week one, Patrick Mahomes has had their number. These are two of the best teams in the AFC, but that does not necessarily mean that this is one of the best games to bet going forward. Like, just because I say I like a matchup does not mean I'm going to like a bet in this one, but I do really like the Chiefs. They've dominated the Ravens a year ago in the AFC Championship game, and the offense for the Ravens looked completely lost. Offensive coordinator Munkin has came out and said and admitted publicly that his game plan fell flat. He completely whiffed. So I'm expecting a much better game plan out of the Ravens in this one from Munkin and Harbaugh. I doubt they fall on their sword twice. But that being said, the Ravens are replacing three starters on their offensive line. They also lost Patrick Queen to the division rival Steelers. And then they lost their defensive coordinator, Mike McDonald, who is viewed as one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. And that's a lot to replace coming into week one when you're playing against the defending Super Bowl champions. And that is going to be a new play caller on defense with a new defensive coordinator going against Andy Reid, who might be the greatest offensive coach in NFL history. I just think it's going to be tough sledding for the Ravens to slow down this Chiefs offense tonight. They added Xavier Worthy from Texas. I'm not going to say he's Tyreek Hill, but he's Tyreek Hill esque. Definitely a field stretcher, and he's going to open up the middle of the field for Travis Kelsey and Rasheed Rice to be able to eat underneath. Kyle Hamilton is going to probably draw one of those matchups in the slot, and that should be a good matchup to watch. But I still like the Chiefs in this one. I would have to be Chiefs -3 or nothing for me. Moving on to tomorrow night, the Eagles and the Packers in Brazil. The Eagles are a 2.5-point favorite with the over under at 49.5. If you tuned in last night to Eagles versus, where me and Chris Gucci, who covers the Packers, broke down this matchup, these two teams are so similar. It's unreal. They have two young quarterbacks with a lot to prove coming out this year. They have two-star running backs in Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, reliable weapons on the outside. And then you move to the defensive side of the ball, where the Eagles and Packers both have giant question marks at the linebacking core. Secondary with some veterans that they can lean on, but it's a lot of young talent out there as well. And then two D lines that should be able to get after it. Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith for the Packers, and then obviously Jalen Carter, newly acquired Bryce Huff for the Eagles, to go along with Brandon Graham back for his reunion tour, is so on and so forth. The pass rushes should be fine in this one. But that's why I have no interest in betting aside. I think this is going to be a really good game, but I really like the over here, 49.5. I think both offenses are going to be able to score. And both offenses were top 10 offenses last year, and both teams have new defensive coordinators. Now, historically in the NFL, since 2021, teams that are on have a first year defensive coordinator and are facing a top 10 defense, which both of these, top 10 offense, which both of these offenses are, they give up an average of 31 points per game, and now we have 31 points per game on both sides in this one between the Packers and the Eagles. I think this game is going to fly over the total, and I'm expecting a shootout in Brazil tomorrow night between the Eagles and the Packers. Cardinals at the Bills are up next. The Bills are a 6.5 point favorite with the over under at 47.5. The Cardinals upgraded their O line this year and they obviously added a big time weapon in Marvin Harrison Jr. in the draft. I mean, actually expect them to be not a playoff team, but they should be much improved based on what they were last season. And the Bills are going to look a lot different this year too, without Gabe Davis and without Stephon Diggs. But if you remember last year, even when they had Diggs and Davis, once Joe Brady became the offensive coordinator, the Bills became a really run heavy team. And I think they're going to double down on that and rely on James Cook a lot in this offense. I'm expecting a breakout season for Dalton Kincaid at the tight end spot. And I'd like Keon Coleman, their first round pick. But outside of them, too, you got Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, just really guys that don't really move the needle for me as far as like playmakers go. So that being said, I think the best look here for the Cardinals Bills game would be the under 47.5. The Cardinals getting in some new players, might take a little while to get going. And then the Bills, I think, are just going to be a ball control, run heavy team again. And just ask Josh Allen to make big plays here or there. I think the under 47.5 is a good look in this one. The Patriots at the Bengals. The Bengals are a 8.5 point favorite with the over under at 40.5. Look, this Patriots offense is going to be a mess this season, and it'll be guided by first year head coach Gerard Mayo. I thought they should have started Drake May. In my opinion, he was the better quarterback in the preseason. But they're going with Jacoby Brissett, the veteran, which I guess I can't be mad at. No reason to rush May because you're going to be a bad team regardless. But this Bengals team is a veteran unit. Joe Burrow. We remain to see how much Jamar Chase actually plays in this one. He just came back to practice the other day. And the Bengals' biggest question mark for me is their defense, but I don't think that's going to be that much of a concern versus this mess of an offense the Patriots have. So even if Jamar Chase doesn't get his full workload, I think this offense is going to do enough to be able to cover this number. T. Higgins is still a very solid weapon, and I do like their duo at running back with Zach Moss coming over in free agency, and Chase Brown is a really good receiving threat out of the backfield. The second year man that the Bengals took last year. He flashed last year towards the end of the season, and I'm expecting him to have a way bigger role this year now that Mixon is gone. So I would lay the 8.5 here with the Bengals. Vikings at the Giants. I don't think you could give me a free bet to bet it on the side or a total in this one. You got Sam Darnold versus Daniel Jones. I have zero interest in playing either of these teams, but I do have a bet that I actually really like in this one. The Giants' first round pick, Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver out of LSU. You can get him over 5.5 catches at plus 102. And I think he might cash this pretty early on in the game. They're gonna go to him early and often. They're gonna move him around the formation and try to get the ball in his hands. And I think he can get 6 catches easily. He might hit it by halftime. Who knows? But Malik Neighbors over 5.5 catches plus 102 is definitely going to be a play for me on Sunday. Steelers at the Falcons. The Falcons are a 3.5 point favorite with the over under at 41.5. Look, there's a lot of hype around this Falcons team this year, and they might end up being the NFC South champion and a team in the playoffs who could maybe make some noise. But that being said, their O line is solid, but outside of Kyle Pitts and Drake London in the passing game, again, just like I said with the Bills, outside of Kincaid and Keon Coleman, the passing weapons for the Falcons leave a lot to be desired outside of those two. Bijan Robinson obviously is a dynamic running back, but Kirk Cousins is coming off a massive, massive injury, and not only that, but he's now on a new team, has yet to play a game with the Falcons, played 0 snaps in the preseason, and that concerns me a lot here. So the under is going to be my first lick. The under 41.5, I think, is my best look in this matchup. But I will say this, though. Russell Wilson is questionable with an injury. If Justin Fields is under center in this one for the Steelers, and this line gets pushed out to 4.5, maybe even 5, I think I'm going to come back in and buy in on the Steelers at that price just because I think it's too many points for a Falcons team that hasn't even played with their quarterback at all yet. Not even a single preseason snap. But right now it's just under, and you have to check back in on Sunday to see if I'm going to be adding the Steelers to the ticket as well. Next up is the Titans at the Bears. Bears are a 3.5 point favorite with the over under at 44.5. I mean, the only thing I could even think about betting in this one would be the under. The Bears being a 3.5 point favorite with a rookie quarterback making his first career start. That's a lot of respect that odds makers are showing. Caleb Williams in this one. I'm a big fan of this Bears defense. If you read my articles last year, you would have known I was super high on him since Eberflus became the took over play calling duties for the defense. He did that um, some point through the season last year. They were a top 10 defense last year between the Bear. I mean, the Bears defense was a top 10 defense last season. And I expect them to pick up right where they left off this year. But the offense is the question mark. Caleb Williams, I think, is a lot better than people are giving him credit for. Because of off the field stuff and maybe his attitude. But I think the guy's a dynamic quarterback. But I can't lay 3.5 here with a rookie in week one. But I'm also not trusting the Titans here with the second year quarterback and a rookie head coach. It would be the under or nothing for me. But I honestly don't think a play in this game is going to make it to my final ticket. The Panthers at the Saints. The Saints are a 4 point favorite with the over under at 41.5. New Panthers head coach Dave Canales has worked wonders wherever he's been with Geno Smith, resurrected his career, and then went down to Tampa Bay and gave Baker Mayfield his best season last year. And for the surprising Bucks, who shocked a lot of people last year, and Baker absolutely balled out in Canales' offense. And now he has the job to do with Bryce Young. So I'm expecting improvement out of Bryce Young because everybody who's played under Canales has improved. So there's no reason for me to doubt that. And the Saints O line is going to be absolutely dreadful this year. And they also have the definition of mid at quarterback with Derek Carr. I don't think the Panthers are going to be a playoff team or anything like that, but the arrow on them is pointing straight up. And especially with the upgrades, like I said, with Canales at head coach, and then they got a Bryce Young, a legit number one option in Deontay Johnson that he can go to. I think 4 points here is too much. I'm going to play the Panthers +4, and I also don't hate a money line sprinkle in this one. The Jaguars at the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a 3.5 point favorite with the over under 48.5. This is another game, like I mentioned, with the Eagles and Packers, where they have two new defensive coordinators, but this game does not fall under that same trend as that game because the Jags, I don't expect to see as a top 10 offense this year. The skill weapons outside, they added Gabe Davis, but it's kind of like they basically are running out a bunch of number two and number three receivers and just hoping one of them acts like a number one. I do like Trevor Lawrence, obviously, and Travis Etienne is a good playmaker at running back, but the weapons outside leave a lot to be desired. But I still like this game to go over. I think the Jags are going to be able to move the ball on offense and still put up points. This Dolphins defense was really good last year, but they did lose their defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. So it remains to be seen how well they play in this new system. And then the Dolphins, obviously, on offense are loaded with Jalen Waddle, Mostert, HN at the running back position, and Tyreek Hill can score on any play. So I think the Dolphins can score 25 to 30 points themselves. So if you're going to give me this over here at 48.5, I'm going to take it. This is one of my favorite plays this weekend. Texans at the Colts. The Texans are a 3 point favorite with the over under at 48.5. I don't have a solidified bet in this one yet. I'm actually leaning towards the Colts. I know the Texans are getting a lot of hype. They exceeded expectations drastically last year, and they went out and added Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixon, but If you look at this Texans team, the wide receivers were not their problem, and neither was really the running game. Their biggest weakness was their run defense, and they did nothing this off season to upgrade that. And the Colts want to pound the ball with Jonathan Taylor and their quarterback, Anthony Richardson, and also a dynamic runner on the ground as well, as long as he can stay healthy. And I think if the Colts have success on the ground in this one, they can play keep away with this high powered Texans offense and keep the game close. I haven't got there yet, but I'm leaning Colts plus the 3. Raiders at the Chargers. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite with the over under at 40.5. Again, this is another game where like I lean the Chargers, but Herbert is working with almost entirely new weapons at all the skill positions. His only weapon that he really has back is Quentin Johnson, a second-year receiver out of TCU, and he was absolutely awful last season. So they need him to take a huge step forward. But other than that, they signed DJ Chark and then drafted Lad McConkey out of Georgia, who's not really like a game breaking wide receiver, but I think he's going to be a nice, reliable target for Herbert in this one. And then the Raiders, I'm just not interested at all until I want to see this team play. I still think the defense is a concern. And then Gardner Minshew, you never know what you're going to get. With him, he balls out one game and then looks like he dropped ass at the next. Week one here with these new look teams, just not something I want to get involved in. Broncos at the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a 6-point favorite with the over under at 41.5. The Broncos are going to want to be a run heavy team this year. I'm a fan of Bo Nix. I think he's the most NFL ready quarterback in this draft from a mental standpoint. I mean, he should be. He played college for 5 seasons, but no, I'm a big fan of Nix. But that being said, I'm assuming Sean Payton is going to want to take the pressure off him early in the season. And there just isn't really weapons at the wide receiver position for the Broncos outside of Cortland Sutton. They do have a pretty good running back room led by Javonte Williams. But this Seahawks defense should be no joke this year. They really came on last year, and now they added Mike McDonald as their head coach, who was the Ravens defensive coordinator last year. This guy is pegged by everybody as a superstar mind on the defensive side of the ball. He's been talked about as being the Sean McVay of defense. And I think this Seattle offense is going to be able to do enough in this one to cover this number. I like the Seahawks minus the 6 here versus the Broncos. Cowboys at the Browns. The Browns are a 2.5-point favorite with the over under at 40.5. Deshaun Watson just has not looked like his old self since he came to the Browns. Maybe this year, another year in the system, is the season that he finds his form again. But he's gonna have to show me for me to buy into that and believe that. And they do have one of, if not the best defense in the NFL. But I just think a quarterback with that many concerns with Deshaun Watson versus a team like as talented as the Cowboys here, getting the Cowboys on the money line at plus 118, I think is good value here. And that's probably going to be the way I'm looking in this game. I'm not interested in the 2.5 points. If I'm going to bet the Cowboys, I'm going to bet them to win this game because I think that's what happens. Either the Browns cover or the Cowboys win. I don't think the Cowboys will play it close and keep it within 2.5. So the +118 on the Cowboys money line would be how I go in this one. Commanders at the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are a 3.5-point favorite with the over under at 42.5. Just flat out hard pass for me in this one. Rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels for the Commanders making his first career start versus a Tampa defense that I truly don't know what to expect from this year. Obviously lost some guys, Shaq Barrett and Devin White. Just situation I'm not comfortable jumping in. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. We're going to pass Commanders Bucks. Now, Rams at the Lions. The Lions are a 4.5-point favorite with the over under at 42.5. I love the Lions in this spot. This is the Matthew Stafford Bowl um, between the Rams and the Lions. The Lions got the squeaked by the Rams in the playoffs last year, but the Rams did cover that number. That being said, this is a totally different matchup. The Lions should absolutely dominate the Rams front. And I mean, the Lions offensive line should absolutely dominate the Rams front. The Rams do have a talented secondary, but that front seven leaves a lot to be desired since Aaron Donald retired. And this Lions has one of the best offensive lines in football and two really good running backs in David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs. Jared Goff is a smart quarterback, doesn't really put the ball in harm's way. Not going to wow you with big plays, big throws down the field. But when you're throwing to Jamison Williams, St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and then you can turn around and hand it off to Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery. The Lions offense, I feel like, should do whatever they want versus the Rams in this one. And I think they covered this 4.5 easily. Now, moving on to Monday Night Football, the last game of the week. The Jets at the 49ers. The 49ers are a 4.5 point favorite with the over under at 43.5. I'm not there yet. I think there's a lot of question marks between both of these teams. Aaron Rodgers, obviously the starting quarterback for the Jets. We only saw him get to play like 3 plays last year in their season opener. So if he makes it through the first quarter in this one, it's already a better season for the Jets. That being said, the 49ers had a circus of an offseason. I mean, C-Mac dealing with injuries, Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk holding out, their rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall from Florida getting shot. I just think if you're going to lay 4.5 here with the 49ers, you're putting a lot of faith in the fact that C-Mac's 100% good to go. Brandon Ayuk is not a little bit out of shape. He's going to be able to handle his full workload with only a week of practice. And that Trent Williams isn't going to miss a beat either after he was holding out for a majority of the training camp and mini camp and all that. I mean, he literally just signed yesterday. So you're putting a lot of faith in that those guys coming in and being ready to go 100% week one, because I do think the Jets are going to be a very solid team this year as long as Aaron Rodgers stays healthy. But again, I luckily I have till Monday to decide if I want to lay this one. But right now, it's staying away from me. Just too much going on, especially on the 49ers side of the ball. And again, if you want to subscribe to my picks, you get my unit sizes, exactly how much money I'm putting on every bet, my plays of the week, parlays of the day. Um, you can subscribe on my Dub Club. All my links are in my social media on Twitter at SRedden Sports, on Instagram at Red Hot Locks. If you're watching this on Facebook, just scroll my page. I promise you, you're gonna find a link somewhere for that. And yeah, and not only NFL but college football too. We give out college football picks as well. If you ever have any questions, feel free to please reach out to me via DM or whatever. I try to respond to everybody in a timely manner. That's it for the Green Zone Week 1. It felt good to be back, and you can rewatch this if you joined late. We posted on YouTube. YouTube is at Red Hot Locks. So best of luck, and everybody enjoy the weekend. Football's back.